Bad news. UK boxing legend Carl Froch believes that Kell Brook is cashing out versus Terrence Crawford in their upcoming fight. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, the Cash App, and the Patreon family. We working. You guys have been great. The Cash App is open 25/8 all day. $ Boxing Ego. Appreciate everyone who supported. Also, ESPN Plus. Use my link below. It's almost Judgment Day. Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje should be a great fight coming on in the daytime this Saturday. UFC ESPN Plus pay-per-view. If you would like to order that pay-per-view, please use my link. It does help the channel stay independent, stay creative, and continue to grow, as an independent media company. Now, bad news. Carl Froch, one of my favorite fighters from the UK, he believes that Kell Brook, his November 14th fight with Terrence Crawford, is not looking good for Kell Brook, and that's his countryman, and I'm sure they know each other. And he believes that Kell Brook, it's not a fight that favors him. Thing I like about Carl Froch is, unlike a lot of UK commentary, he will speak the truth and give you his true thoughts, and it doesn't always cater to the UK narrative. There's a lot of UK boxing commentators like Sky Sports and, just different analysts, and it's like they're always heavily in favor of the UK fighter, and to a fault. Like, if the UK fighter's doing the best work, then that is what it is. But there's times where, like, Dillian White's fighting Povetkin, and they're only showing you or telling you what Dillian White is doing, the British fighter. And then, boom, out of nowhere, Povetkin knocks out Dillian White. And for a viewer who's listening to the program, it looks like it came out of nowhere, but it wasn't really out of nowhere. There was a tone being set and a tempo, and they're just not giving you, a fair shake and commentary that benefits both sides. So in an interview with Sporting Radio, this is what Carl Froch said regarding Brook challenging Bud Crawford, who's a phenomenal talent. ESPN just put him up #1 pound for pound. Kell Brook says, and I quote, "I think it's probably too late for Kell Brook, unfortunately. I think that the loss to Gennady Golovkin and Errol Spence Jr. left some damage that he'll never recover from. He'll never recover from, especially the Triple G fight." Triple G, he's saying, was like basically too big for him, and it didn't make sense for him to fight Triple G. Carl Froch goes on by saying he was trying to get the Amir Khan fight, and then all of a sudden he announced he was fighting Triple G. I thought it was a stupid decision, to be honest. I don't think that was the right decision by Kell Brook, and it pretty much destroyed his career moving forward because of the injury and because he's a magnificent talent. I've sparred with him. His speed and his skill set and natural ability is phenomenal. He's such a great fighter, but you can break something inside of a boxer, something that you can never get back. And I think Golovkin did that to Brook. It's such a shame. So he believes that Golovkin left Kell Brook with irreparable damage. Carl Froch goes on to say, Terrence Crawford is a great fight, but Terrence Crawford is not messing around. He's a top fighter. I think it's going to be his last fight, Kell Brook, and I think it's him cashing out. I don't think crowds or lack of crowds will play a big factor for either fighter. I think Kell will do what he does best. I'm not totally writing him off, but against someone like Terrence Crawford, who is very good and exceptional, Kell Brook was exceptional in his day. He's past his best, and I think it's going to be a test too far. It's a great fight. I want to watch it, and I love Kell Brook. I want him to pull it off, but I just can't see it, end quote. So, listen, I want to know what you guys think in the comment section. Drop a comment. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. I drop daily content, do live streams. We have fun with this boxing game. Normally, I cover fights too, but we're in a pandemic, so there's only a small handful of media, if any, that can even go. Plus, I don't want no cotton swabs all in my nose and stuff for the testing. So that's that. Carl Froch, I agree with him. Listen, when this fight was first announced, I was like, ooh, that's when they actually, not when it was announced, because they took forever to announce it, and they just announced it at the Teofimo Lopez Vasil Lomachenko. That's when it officially was announced. But when it was first being talked about, I was like, you know what, this is not that bad. Like, stylistically, there's some interesting things. But the more I started thinking about it, you heard on my channel that my commentary had changed, because what I've learned in boxing, in the sport of boxing, is if you have that gut feeling about a fighter, like we haven't seen this type of old vintage performance, then there's usually a reason you feel that way. Now, as far as, like, I think it's overstated in boxing when people are constantly expecting the fighter to turn back the clock, like people do it with Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner looked great versus Antonio DeMarco, but it's been a while since he had that type of performance. He had a close fight with Granados, contested. Some people even had Granados winning. He had a close fight with Jesse Vargas. I thought he won that one. Sean Porter was a loss, but he knocked Sean Porter down, and he lost to Mikey Garcia, etc. So people are constantly expecting the 130, 135 Broner to just show up. And I do think Broner is a talent, but more often than not, at least at the elite levels, like, Broner could still beat guys like Ivan Redcash. He's going to be the favorite, stuff like that. But against guys like Pacquiao and stuff, it's hard to think that Broner would beat them. Or even if Broner fought Keith Thurman, Keith Thurman would be the betting favorite. Now, Broner's Broner. Broner he's never been stopped. Maidana dropped him, but not too many guys dropped him. So Broner got a beard and stuff like that. But KELL BROOK, just what Carl Froch is saying is true. KELL BROOK is the guy who showed a lot of promise, and he came across the pond. He came across the pond to fight Sean Porter, did great in that fight, lifted the belt from Sean Porter, and then he did the rematch room way, Eddie Hearn way, and fought a bunch of people that nobody was clamoring for him to fight. Nobody wanted or expected him to fight. Jojo, Dan, Kevin Bezier. He went back domestic and had a lot of domestic level UK fights. So there was a burden of proof where people were saying, hey, man, you the champion. You got to step it up. But the difference is people wanted KELL BROOK to step up and fight a top welterweight. Floyd Mayweather, Pacquiao, Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, someone like that. And this man went all the way up to 160 because he got a phone call from Eddie Hearn and decided that would be good, and it proved to be bad. Even though he exploited and exposed some things with Golovkin and showed some vulnerabilities, the outcome was him getting a shattered orbital, and his eye has permanent damage, or damage that, probably was brought out in his next fight, which was a tough fight. You have to look at the body as a complex machine, the human skull. Once you fracture it, I'm pretty sure it'll probably weaken the overall skull. So him getting his eyeball shattered in the Golovkin fight didn't behoove him and benefit him come time to fight Errol Spence. And then Errol Spence did the same thing to the other eye, being a southpaw. So I agree with Carl Froch. Those were back-to-back embarrassing losses, and they were at home. That's why I'm saying embarrassing losses. I get it, you fought a bigger person, but you decided to do this, you and Eddie Hearn. And Eddie Hearn has ruined many a career by making these weird decisions. He putting Dillian White in with Povetkin 91 days after he just got brutally knocked out. He gave Joshua Ruiz, which I told you was a bad stylistic matchup, and I picked Ruiz, and then you seen what happened. And then he did an immediate rematch, and Joshua still didn't look great, but he got his belts back. He put KELL BROOK in there with Triple G because Triple G, Chris Eubank, fell apart. And KELL BROOK was supposed to fight Jesse Vargas, who was a champion at the time. So really bad decisions. I agree with Carl Froch totally when it comes to that. It was just a bad decision. Back-to-back bad fights. I can't say Errol Spence was a bad decision because that's somebody that KELL BROOK should have been fighting, at welterweight. So that wasn't a bad decision, but obviously it wasn't his night, and he ended up losing. And he lost both of those fights, sustained injury in both of those fights. And, KELL BROOK, we don't know if he's been the same since, because if he has been the same, he sure hasn't fought the same caliber of people since Triple G and Errol Spence. He's fighting Rabchenko, and he didn't look good versus Michael Zarafa. So I agree with Carl Froch. wholeheartedly. I think this is a cash out fight. The more I started thinking about it, it sounds like a cash out fight where this is his last hurrah. And I'm not going to say he's not going to try, because of course, you know, you go in there, but this is a fight where he can get some millions and, you know, get a couple $1 million, fight and try to get a belt. And then if he can't, he's going to end up retiring. I guarantee you he'll retire if Terrence Crawford dogs him, you know. So the more I think about it, the less this fight is really, you know, driving me and motivating me to, you know, as a fan, because Terrence Crawford, he's just in his zone. I do think prime versus prime, Kell Brook can give any top welterweight of this, you know, modern era, he can give him a tough fight. And he might even be able to give Terrence Crawford a tough fight here. I think, like I said, my theory is simple. It goes like this. I think Kell Brook skillfully can hurt Terrence Crawford, all that. But for me, I got to go with my gut, like Carl Froch. And it's hard for me to put Kell Brook. He's going to have the performance that we haven't seen since, I don't even know when his last win was, because you got to look at it. He did good with Errol Spence early. He did good in spots with Triple G, but he lost both of those fights. So when is the last elite fight that he had where he did good? Sean Porter, you know, those are the elite names that he fought. Sean Porter, Errol Spence, and Triple G. Those are the guys who were highly touted and ranked, and he lost all but one of them, and that was Sean Porter, and that was several years ago. So Terrence Crawford, he just got so much momentum. Terrence Crawford is super disciplined. He just got ranked pound for pound #1. His last fight with Mean Machine was already a tough fight. So I think, you know, he's going to be focused, and he's probably going to try to tidy up. So I agree with Carl Froch. This is looking like a cash out type of fight for Kell Brook. I think in his prime, maybe he can give Crawford a tougher fight. But the thing is this, when I look at a guy like Crawford, he's always gonna be him. Like I said, he's disciplined, stays in shape, looks like he lives a clean life, and he fought last in December, so 11-month layoff. So, you know, we'll see how it goes, but I don't think he abuses his body and stuff like that. I think Kell Brook's gonna try, but then if he's looking like Amir Khan in there with Terrence Crawford, that's gonna beat the fight out of him. You get what I'm saying? So if Kell Brook does something and tries something and it's working and Crawford can't figure it out, then it'll be an interesting fight. But I don't see him coming from behind or having a fight where he's not doing good. I just think he'll be likely to succumb and probably quit versus Terrence Crawford, just like Amir Khan, if the going gets tough. I mean, how many times do you expect someone to summons that type of, you know, Rocky Balboa type of performance versus Ivan Drago, where they're getting their ass beat and they mustered it up to come out the victory? So I agree with Carl Froch. It's an uphill battle, to say the least. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with myself and Carl Froch with the assessment? Drop your thoughts in the comment section. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.